Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kevin Fernandes, and this is Ian Wick, and we're both lawyers at Kaiser Mason Ball in Mississauga. We're lawyers for the Corporate Commercial Practice Group at Kaiser Mason Ball, and we're really happy to be involved with this live stream lunch, and are looking forward to giving you some insight into what we do as lawyers. So, Kaiser Mason Ball has been practicing law in the West GTA, Mississauga, Brampton, Oakville, etc. for 40 years now. It's our 40th anniversary. And we're really proud of the commitment that we have from our partners such as Oakville Chamber of Commerce to work together to help businesses in the area grow and prosper. As corporate commercial lawyers, our practice involves a variety of matters, but particularly we help clients with asset and share purchase and sale transactions, private equity transactions, incorporations and maintaining their corporate documents and procedures and processes, corporate reorganizations, and drafting and negotiating a whole range of commercial agreements. But today, we hope to shed some light based on our experience about the process and realistic timing around the selling of your business. So generally, regardless of the deal structure, whether it's an asset sale, a share sale, or a hybrid sale, and Ian's going to give us some comments later about that, sale transactions generally take on a number of different phases. Those being the preparation for the sale, the letter of intent or the term sheet, your due diligence period, the settling of the definitive agreements and the schedules to those definitive agreements, the lead up to closing and all that goes into that, and the closing itself and whatever post-closing matters come from there. But while we have those kind of signposts, figuring out the time that it takes to actually realistically go through those different phases can be challenging. And Ian's going to provide us more details about both the structures that these types of transactions take on, and then later on he's going to provide some comments about the actual time that they take on. So Ian, can you tell us a bit more about the structure that these types of deals can take on?
Sure. So typically your structures focus around two concepts. One is a share sale, the other is an asset sale. And share sale sees the vendor sell the shares of the corporation, or the units of the partnership, whatever it may be, so that the entire entity, lock, stock, and barrel, is transferred to the purchaser. Vendors typically prefer share sales for tax reasons, and the most important or most common one is the ability to access the capital gains exemption. An asset sale is a situation where the vendor is actually the corporation, or the target entity itself, and it's going to sell its assets and probably have some of its liabilities assumed as part of that transaction, but only selected liabilities. And generally speaking, purchasers prefer that form of a transaction. It allows them to leave behind liabilities or obligations that might exist in the business that they do not want to assume, and that might include as well risk around unknown liabilities that might pop up in the future. It also allows them to allocate the purchase price amongst the assets they're acquiring and hopefully to be able to appreciate them over time, giving them a real tax benefit. There's a third option that blends the two that has become a little popular, and that's a hybrid transaction. And this is the attempt for the two parties to give the vendor the benefit of the capital gains exemption and the purchaser the benefit of a shield from liabilities and still being able to allocate the purchase price and depreciate it. And really that's by having the transaction involve a sale of some of the assets and then a sale of some sort of an entity that has some of the assets transferred into it. That's a sale of shares, and which is usually referred to as a hybrid transaction. So you're going to end up with a transaction that falls into one of those categories, be it a sale of shares, sale of assets, or a blending of both through a hybrid transaction.
Thanks, Ian. So as mentioned at the beginning, whether it's an asset transaction, a share transaction, or a hybrid transaction, the phases I described earlier generally outline the process you're going to go through when you sell your business. Ian's now going to give us some more information about the timing for each one of those phases and some of the key considerations that can kind of inform timing and different resources you might need to draw on in preparation for them.
One challenge that vendors often have is the understanding around how long a transaction actually takes, how long it takes to have their business be in a position to sell most advantageously, and then how long to conclude it. So let's deal with the first phase, preparing for sale. I always like to tell people that could take as long as 2 or more years. And the magic around the 2 years is that if there's any tax planning that needs to be done that will involve restructuring of the shares, To get that tax planning advantage, you probably need to allow 2 years to pass to get the benefit, because that 2-year time period is provided for under the Income Tax Act. In addition, on top of reorganization that might be generating tax benefits, there's just operational issues that might have a big impact on the value you get for your company. So one is you may need to move away any responsibilities or any customer relationships from you as the principal of the business to other people, other individuals that would stay with the business. So the goodwill isn't associated with you, the goodwill is associated with the business that's being sold. You may also have issues around being able to provide good numbers. You may need to introduce an inventory system. You may need to update or completely replace your financial software, because any purchaser is going to want to be able to see strong, clear financial numbers for your business that don't change. And all of those things can take time. You move on to the next stage. Let's say you've gotten to that point where your business is ready for sale and you found a good potential purchaser. You're probably going to go through a period of negotiating a letter of intent and a non-disclosure agreement. That's a much shorter time frame, obviously, than preparing for sale, but probably will take in the neighborhood of at least a month. And that will involve the two sides really agreeing on the principal business terms before they even put those down on paper. And typically for a vendor, you want to negotiate the key business terms as part of your letter of intent. And the reason you do is because this is really the honeymoon phase between you and the purchaser. This is the time when the purchaser wants to get you committed to a transaction with them. They want you to agree to deal with them exclusively, and they're more open to working out and accommodating some of those interesting terms in a letter of intent. So as a vendor, you want an expanded letter of intent. Once you've gone through the preparation for sale and you've got your letter of intent, the next process is likely to be due diligence. And this is when the purchaser comes in and gets a chance, because they've agreed in principle to the terms of a purchase, to determine whether or not what's in your business, the facts, the details, really back up the small amount of information they received previously. It's probably going to take 2 to 3 months. They're going to, for a significant business, they're going to involve their accountants, who are probably going to come in physically on the premises as well as taking information away. So that's a 2 to 3 month period you have to build in and be prepared for, and operate your business effectively while at the same time dealing with people that are in there quite possibly every day for a week or more at a time, interfering with the business. You're probably also going to need to deal with the issue of who's going to know about and be involved in the due diligence process. Will it be everybody? Is it not common knowledge within your business? Do you not want this to be common knowledge that might get out within your industry? If so, we're going to have to understand how the due diligence process is handled without it being either disruptive or becoming public knowledge. Once the due diligence period is completed, and assuming that the purchaser is satisfied with the due diligence, you're then going to go through a process of negotiating the definitive agreements and completing the schedules. And this is both a very difficult negotiation period. It's going to be rigorous around determining the terms, but in addition, it's going to be a lot of dog work. Putting together the schedule information is a beast of a job. It's a beast of a job for the seller. Most of that work is done by the seller as opposed to their professional advisors. So you need to be ready for that. And it's probably going to take you 1 or 2 months of negotiating the agreement and putting together the scheduled information. And that's a pretty focused time period for the selling team. Once the definitive agreement is settled, you may very well have a closing that occurs at a set date after the definitive agreement is signed, and that's likely 1 or 2 months that time period expires and the business operates up to the closing. And then you come to closing, you have the closing date, it's fantastic, everything is done, all the hard work that's been put in finally comes to conclusion. But what people forget is many times a transaction has post-closing obligations, and they may be significant, and they can run anywhere from 2 to 5 years. And that can involve a time period where the principals of the business are involved in operating it, training the people who are going to be taking over and managing it, and that could be a 1 or 2 year period as much as. And let's not forget the most important part, getting paid. And in many cases, getting paid The full purchase price involves a post-closing payment time that could be anywhere up to 5 years. And last but not least, non-competition obligations. As a principal that's exiting, you're going to have non-competition obligations that probably run anywhere from 3 to 5 years. So the whole time period from getting ready for the business to sell through to the completion of the post-closing obligations, it's not uncommon for that to run 5 to 7 years or more.
Thanks, Ian. So it's a fairly involved process. It's not only involving us as your lawyers. We act for purchasers and sellers. There's various nuances that go into that from one side versus the other. But generally, experienced counsel are used to dealing with other professionals. So we as your lawyers, we work with your tax accountants, your tax lawyers, your management accountants, and your in-house financial team, as well as your business valuators and other professionals that are part of your overall team. You might also have personal wealth advisors and bankers that we can also work with to make sure you have a comprehensive solution that helps to make that transition period as smooth as possible. Looking at we only have about a minute or two left, just wanted to ask, so Ian, you've been practicing for about 25 years. You lead our M&A team. We have a special mergers and acquisitions team here at Kaiser Mason Ball. If there was one piece of advice you could impart, or a couple pieces of advice you could impart upon a potential seller when they're thinking about selling their business, what might that be?
I would say 3. Number 1, understand the value of the business, understand how to protect it, whatever it may be, and be able to sell it, number 1. Number 2 would be able to produce reliable, quick, current financial information. Absolutely essential. And then the last thing I would say is never stop operating the business. No deal is done until the deal is done. And the most important thing is to ensure that you do not lose sight of the value, which is running the business. It comes first. It's easy to get distracted when you're in a transaction. Focus on what's important. Run the business first.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. We'd like to thank the Oakville Chamber of Commerce for working together with us. We all have a common goal of ensuring that the GTA West, Mississauga, Oakville, Brampton all prospers, and the more we can work together, the better. Make sure to visit us at www.kmblaw.com. We have a wealth of resources, articles, videos, informationals that you can check out to get some more information and check out the various areas in which we practice. Even if it's not corporate commercial services that you require, we're a full service firm, so we can provide a wealth of information and support to you. Lastly, from Ian and I, we always answer our phones. So if you need us, give us a call, send us an email. We'll be happy to chat with you. All our details on the website. And we look forward to coming back and working more with the OCC. Thanks and have a great day.